Awesome. Fantastic. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Good morning, potentially, wherever it is that you're dialing in from. My name is Adam Argett. I'm the product marketing manager here at Unitrends. I've been a member of our team for the last 7 years. One of the things that I've loved about product marketing is that we sit in between the folks like yourselves, the IT professionals that are consuming our technologies, uncovering and encountering new challenges to help guide us and provide us the feedback. And on the other side are the engineers and the developers that are trying to build the tools to help folks overcome those. And sometimes we're trying to anticipate those challenges, those market trends. So I'm excited to share with you all a little bit about what we're doing to help organizations maintain continuity when working in Microsoft environments, both in Azure and in Microsoft 365. Unitrends itself has been around for a little over 3 decades. We were originally founded in Columbia, South Carolina, 1989, protecting Unix systems with a compression tape archiver. And over the last 30 years, we have had an injection of acquisitions and investment into our platform to really evolve into a single platform for business continuity and disaster recovery. For our customers in the cloud, a lot of them are still working in sort of a hybrid situation. They have not been able to maybe migrate fully into Azure. Their move to the cloud was potentially accelerated during the pandemic, and now with kind of our shift to hybrid work. And really what we're trying to do is create an environment where data loss and downtime are non-existent, regardless of where that data lives. So we've got a suite of solutions that we can deploy for different use cases to protect data across different environments, whether it exists on-prem, on remote endpoints, or now increasingly in the cloud. Everything from Unitrends for our customers is managed through a single pane of glass. So we want to provide them an easy experience through our UniView platform. So we've got a modular approach to management for all of those different sources of data. So as your needs or as your environment changes, you can readily adapt your licensing and snap in different modules. We know that SharePoint and Exchange on-prem are coming end of life in the next couple of years. As that data moves into Microsoft 365, if it hasn't yet, you're still managing that data from the same interface, or managing data protection from the same interface. And this UniView Hub is a lot of where our innovation lives. Backup IQ to help our customers cut through the noise. They can prioritize alerts and issues based on things that would directly impact their SLAs. But before we get into our technology a little bit here, there are typically 3 challenges that I hear about when I talk to customers that they're looking to overcome when they're working in the cloud. They want to eliminate a single point of failure. They want to have confidence in their ability to recover, and they want to ensure that they're able to really be efficient with their cost. There can be a lot of unpredictability in terms of the cost structure of working in the cloud. And from our standpoint, for backup and recovery, we try to provide our customers with a transparent, cost predictable experience to protect their critical data. There can be a lot of variable and per incident pricing and charges. So when it comes to eliminating single cloud risks, I'm sure the shared responsibility model is no secret to anyone that's on this call. And essentially, when we talk about the cloud, we're talking about someone else's server. Microsoft has phenomenal data centers, high levels of availability, redundancy, fault tolerance, but they are completely upfront that things like human errors, misconfigurations, increases in cyber attacks, folks that are going after our users and accessing credentials in our networks, they are not responsible for things that happen on the other end of the keyboard, whether that be a scripting error that runs wild, a user that clicks on a bad link and now encrypted data is being synced up into the OneDrive. Their native tools aren't really designed for recovery in those scenarios. So it's the responsibility, regardless of where your data lives, for you and the organization to ensure that they're protecting it. The other piece is continuity. For Azure, we think about we're moving to the cloud, the data is always going to be there. And for the most part, it is. There are certain incidents of downtime, but when we're looking at a standard hard disk VM in Azure with a 95% SLA, that equates to 37 hours of downtime per month. There are no limits on the number of outages. It might be a service credit if that, if they exceed that downtime in the month, but there's little recourse for our customers. So what they're looking for when they're shifting and moving into Azure is the ability to fail over and maintain continuity, even if they can't get to the cloud. We think about our forefathers talking about the 3-2-1 rule of data protection, and that rule still holds true today. You should always have that secondary copy of data that you can recover outside of the primary environment. And the other piece here is backup solutions running in the same public cloud as your production. It's susceptible to failure and cloud outages. Sometimes those backups are behind the same set of credentials as production instances. So a compromise of a single account unlocks the entire kingdom for these threat actors. We've seen a large shift in attacks. The folks at Dimensional Research, in partnership with Odasiva, released a survey on the state of ransomware attack preparedness earlier this year. And what they found was that nearly 7 out of 10 users reported significant increases in attacks against their infrastructure as a service or their SaaS environment. So as our critical data is moving, threat actors are adjusting their scope and attacking in turn. There were the Azure wiper attacks earlier this year that were Iranian nation-state actors that were using techniques to kind of disguise and obfuscate their activity to make it look like ransomware. But ultimately, what was going on was complete destruction of the cloud environment, the virtual machines, storage, backups, the cloud networking was all blown away. So it really left those, those impacted in a tricky situation. And that's where the ability to get that data out of the cloud and ensure that it's recoverable comes in with Unitrends. So if you're running virtual machines in an Azure subscription, our technology will deploy an agent onto those machines and then back up every hour on the hour to a virtual cloud appliance that's running in a Unitrends operated Azure tenant. This is key for driving that predictable cost because we are able to, as we replicate this data outside into the Unitrends cloud, into a separate secure cloud environment, SSA 16 certified data centers, SOC 2 compliant, we're assuming all of those egress and those data transport charges. So you have a strict predictable cost, but we still have that hourly replication of those redundant backup copies that are stored in the Unitrends cloud. From there, we will verify the file systems for integrity. We will scan and analyze heuristics of the backup data for signs of ransomware, and take a screenshot verified or perform screenshot verification every day so that you know that you have a good tested backup. You can also virtualize in the Unitrends cloud. So in the event that that primary workload is unavailable for any reason in Azure, you can spin up those workloads within the Unitrends cloud to maintain that continuity for your business or your organization. When it comes back to restoring back to Azure, we can restore directly off of the backups that are stored in our cloud tenant for very fast recovery of files and folders, or even export the images if we did have to fail over into the Unitrends cloud, export and bring those images back into the VM subscription when you're ready to move back into Azure. But we provide you with that layer of redundancy outside of the production cloud so that you can spin up no matter what the situation is. Another piece is proof and confidence in your ability to recover. And this may be going beyond just simply confidence in that it might be required, whether it be for regulatory compliance, artifacts for your cyber insurance or cyber liability insurance. The Dimensional Research study found that, unfortunately, we're struggling to protect our data and recover it in the cloud. We're pretty good at overcoming ransomware on-prem. We have more robust defenses. We've been protecting these environments for a long time. We're a little bit maybe more mature in working in those environments. The story is a little bit less so in the cloud, but ensuring that you have a plan and a well-tested strategy to recover that data is critical. One of my favorite pieces that I look for every year is the IBM Cost of a Data Breach report. They've got great insights. It's kind of one of the core pillar documents, that and the Verizon DBIR, that I really like to look at to see what's going on in this threat landscape. And one of the things that I found was really staggering was that the overall cost of a breach can be reduced by nearly 33% with thorough and high levels of incident response planning and testing. Now, I recognize that there's more than just the backup and recovery piece that goes into all of this drilling, but for Unitrends' part, we help to make this very automated for our customers to remove some of the challenges, manual configuration, eliminate some of the costs with spinning up separate instances to run testing in sandboxes or in other environments. We take that screenshot verification, as we said, every night, so you can log right into your Unitrends portal with confidence and see, hey, we've got a good verified backup. But we will also help you perform quarterly DR testing in our cloud. If you've got multiple machines or tiered applications, you can work with our team once a quarter to build out that testing and ensure that should the worst happen, you can recover with confidence in our cloud. It's been tested. You've got reports and results from that testing that you can file with regulatory bodies, cyber insurance, et cetera. So you know exactly where you stand in the event of an outage or a disruption. True continuity in the cloud extends beyond native tools. And this is a little bit more on the SaaS side of things, but folks may be thinking, isn't retention a part of my subscription? And to a point it is, but you don't want to be relying on the recycle bin. The recycle bin is not a backup. Microsoft will give you 30 days for Exchange, 93 days on SharePoint. There's a 14-day window behind that second bin deletion where they can restore the data. But the challenge is, in a lot of cases, we're not realizing that data is gone, missing, lost, or compromised until well after it's unrecoverable based on Microsoft's timelines. And the tools that they have for recovery are fairly limited. They're replicating data for the availability of the application, not for backup and restore. There's not a lot of self-service and very little granularity with recovery with these tools. So if you lost a handful of files or some files got encrypted and you caught it in time, do you want to lock an entire site and roll it back just to restore a handful of files or documents? It may not be all that effective. And, for one of our customers, the Westland Real Estate Group, it was a real wake-up call, kind of boiling down the idea of high availability versus backup and recovery. They had a user in their offices click on a malicious link and it started to encrypt files on their local machine. Now the Drive Sync tool notices change locally on the machine, says, oh, I got to grab that copy in the cloud. And before they knew it, they had all of these encrypted files, both locally on the machine and in their drive in the cloud. That was where they recognized the idea of, getting that asynchronous copy, a copy outside of the production environment, one that is not aligned to those sync and share tools to preserve that point in time restore would be really helpful. And they weren't worried about the cloud not doing its job, but more so the humans. As we've seen, a rise in these phishing attacks and social engineering, it's critical that we're protecting our data. So after the incident, it was a real wake-up call to ensure that they were investing in third-party backup to support some of the native capabilities and ensure that they had that redundancy for their data outside of the production instance and outside of the kind of scope of those sync tools and capabilities. The last piece that we're trying to help folks on as they're managing data in all of these different locations is reducing the overall complexity of these environments. And the goal at Unitrends and for our customers is to give you that centralized experience so that you're not managing 6, 7 different interfaces. You don't have to learn different scripting procedures, estimate storage tiers. We want to make it very easy to consume and navigate through wherever you are in your cloud migration journey. Ensure that you've got that resilience for your data. So a single product to minimize support and eliminate that finger pointing between vendors. You got one interface to learn, one tool set to kind of master. That's been a big value for our customers, helping them save time and focus on some of those more important issues. Some of our other speakers are talking about phenomenal use cases for the cloud in production. You don't want to be babysitting backups. You want to explore some of those new use cases and really drive your organization forward. So for one of our customers, they're a large real estate provider in Texas. They manage a little over $1 billion in assets across the state, both commercial and residential properties, but they've only got 4 dedicated IT staff for everything that they are doing. They had a little bit of a mixed environment when their CIO sped up their migration to Azure and really advanced their timeline. I think it was about a year earlier than they were expecting. They were looking for a backup and disaster recovery provider, and their scope expanded with Azure. And ultimately, they opted to choose Unitrends, both for how we could protect their data locally, as well as support their growing Azure footprint with our technology and give them one pane of glass to manage. This was a small team. They wanted to ensure that they could, 1, control costs, 2, weren't going to be overburdened with convoluted or complicated technology. So after looking at us and a few other vendors, they opted in for Unitrends. They reduced the cost of their primary on-prem backup provider by 27%. We were able to drive some efficiencies and some cost savings for them there. They were able to manage both their appliances and their local assets as well as their Azure directly out of our UniView portal. We give you that single pane of glass. And with them dealing with sensitive information around payments and user identities, et cetera, through the application and the transaction process, they had to ensure that they were testing regularly, and we were able to help facilitate that through our quarterly testing with our Azure tools in the Unitrends cloud. So, Rod, I'm not sure how I am for time, but this is what I've got for folks today. You can certainly, I would encourage everyone to visit unitrends.com for more information. We've got all sorts of resources up there. We've got a buyer's guide for Azure Backup that goes a little bit deeper into some of the criteria that we've discussed today. It was a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with the group. So thank you very much.